Most people's impression of Holland is that it's very flat and saved from flooding only by the ever-turning windmills. In reality, this description is only partly correct. The countryside is certainly flat, and there is a lot of water. But in modern Holland, most windmills are still, and the drainage pumping is now handled by more up-to-date, if less photogenic techniques. Often such modernization reduces the very national differences that make travel so enjoyable. But even so, Holland still manages to produce its own delightful surprises, which reflect its traditional character. It certainly provided Stephen and Julie with all that they hoped for from their first experience of life in a foreign country. We were lucky to be introduced to some of these pleasures by Ronald Steenhoff and his family, who were our hosts at the Hague Cine Club and who took us on a day trip to Gouda. Gouda is a small market town, known worldwide for its large discs of delicious golden cheese. Every week, the market is held in the shadow of the beautiful 15th century town hall. A few days later, we were lucky to see the Gouda town hall again, but this time from a different angle. It was in the form of a beautiful replica in the model park of Madurodam. Here, some of the most beautiful buildings in Holland are reproduced on a scale of 1 to 25. Here you can see the Dom Tower from Utrecht and the Binnenhof from The Hague. The models are so realistic that it sometimes takes the intrusion of an incongruous sparrow to remind us that all is not quite what it seems. Madurodam's slogan is that it captures Holland in a nutshell. The models are not restricted to old buildings, but include such modern facilities as a fully operational port complex. Everything runs smoothly, and even the occasional fire on board a tanker is swiftly tackled by the harbour fire tender. There is even a working model of the Princess Beatrix Lock from Vreeswijk, which transfers the miniature barges between the differing levels of water features in the park. All forms of transport are represented in Madurodam, and it's easy to forget that the resultant activity is not the real thing. As our little model holidaymaker leaves the bustle of Madurodam, we follow him to Delft. This medieval town is one of the oldest and best preserved in Holland. It's also the home of the famous blue and white Delft porcelain. The old town is interlaced with long, narrow canals, lined with lime trees and crisscrossed by picturesque white bridges, gleaming brilliantly in the sunshine. A gentle, sunny stroll around this romantic town is one of the nicest ways to work up an appetite for a refreshing ice cream. Wherever you look, you are reminded that the flat lands of Holland have helped to turn cycling into more of a national pastime than a cheap form of transport. Well, at least it must be easier to travel on a bike than in these clogs. After watching the clog maker at work, Stephen was more interested in buying a half-finished demonstration clog for his museum than the more elaborate tourist souvenirs. Zanzeschans is a living museum of 17th century Holland, with its delightful wooden houses and gentle waterways. Here, at last, we visited a working windmill, and were reminded of the importance of the luscious Dutch meadows for the dairy industry. Dutch cows mean Dutch milk, and Dutch milk means Dutch cheese. The demonstration of cheese making was fascinating, and concluded with a delicious sample of the finished product. In the marketplace at Purmerend, we watched the traditional round cheeses from nearby Edam village being weighed and sold. At this stage, they haven't yet been given their protective red coating that is so recognizable on the cheese counters around the world. The smell of so much cheese was overwhelming, and it was impossible to resist the temptation of the food stalls. Our campsite was at Rheinsberg, which was celebrating its summer flower festival during our stay. Linda decided to make her own contribution. Her arrangement used Stephen's unfinished clog as a container, and she chose blue and white flowers to represent the colour of Delft porcelain. It didn't win the competition for decorated camping units, but it obviously gave pleasure to many locals that visitors to Holland had bothered to participate at all. Not to be outdone, Julie and Stephen joined the children's flower parade, with their toys suitably adorned. The next day, the town of Rheinsberg was treated to slightly more elaborate floral decorations. Every vehicle in the parade seemed to disappear beneath a mound of colour, even though the sky was disappointingly overcast. Even the police cars and motorcycle outriders were suitably decorated. For visitors, it was a beautiful reminder that there are more flowers from Amsterdam than just tulips, which seems as good a cue as any to go to that fair city and see for ourselves. First stop, the quayside, to embark on a cruise along Amsterdam's famous canals. Flowers, windmills, canals, clogs, cheese and street organs may be rather cliched images of Holland, but we certainly enjoyed the experience.